Now, is the first round bye a problem in terms of who they give that to, the conference champion, it being that? All of a sudden, the teams like Texas have to go to Arizona State instead of Oregon, who's going to have to deal with the Ohio State-Tennessee winner.
Yeah.
Did they get something like that wrong with sort of having these great teams playing in these first rounds, some of these we don't know how great they are teams getting a bye?
Yeah, because here's the deal with that, to what you said, Colin. You're going to have a 12-team playoff, and believe me, in 3 years, they're going to go to 16 teams.
Yes.
You will not have to worry about this.
Without
1
even
versus 16, 2
Right.
versus 15,
Right.
et cetera. We're on that road, and that road's going to get sooner and sooner in terms of not waiting that long
Money.
for that to happen. Well, yeah, because there's too much money out there.
I-
You got kids going to other schools getting $400,000 in NIL, and they're not even playing the schools they're playing at right now. So that money train is not running out of track anytime soon.
No.
Off of that, are they going to get rid of a regular season game if they go to 16?
Well, no, because that's too much money.
Money.
Schools and big programs and big conferences, you're potentially taking anywhere from $20 to $25 million per game away from them. They are not going to allow that money to just go off into the wind and never to be seen or heard from again. So that's where we're going to go when it comes to the playoffs. Here's something else, too, with the 12-team playoff of our college football. Give us the 12 best teams. If you're going to say the conference championship games matter, well, you kind of defeated that whole purpose by saying, okay, they matter to a point. Well, then why didn't SMU get a higher seed? Why didn't Notre Dame? Notre Dame is unseeded. They're lower seed than they should be. They should be a higher seed because they're one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the country, but they're not getting a bye. Give me the 12 best teams, and if you're going to have a bye, that means I know the top 4 teams deserve to get a bye because they're the 4 best teams.
Couldn't you make that same argument with SMU? That the reason they got that big is because they had that extra game. It didn't necessarily hurt their resume as much, but people would argue teams like Alabama, who's 3-1 against the top 25, would be a better team just off of resume alone. But since SMU had that extra game, played in their conference champion, don't they want to make that important in a sense?
They can make it important, but then if you're Alabama, you back up your argument by not losing to Vanderbilt and not losing to Oklahoma that way. Oh. It's one thing if you lost to Oklahoma in a fluke field goal at the end of the game. Hey, upsets happen in college football. You're playing in Norman, Oklahoma. You went out there and they just destroyed you on both sides of the line of scrimmage. So Alabama, to me, did not have an argument, especially when they did not make their championship game. And this precedent, guys, was set last year because Georgia was one of the 3-4 best teams in the country last year. They had a bad Saturday in the SEC championship game versus Alabama, and then they're kicked out. Yeah. As much as people in Florida State said, we have more of a case. No. Georgia's ranked in top 2.
They lost in 3 years.
In 3 years, and they paid the price for that. That's why the 12-team playoff was going to make sure that doesn't happen again because it should not have happened in the first place last year.
Now, Freddie, you mentioned that you want the best teams, no matter the conference or whatever.
No matter conference.
As a Big Ten guy, you want to know what I tell Notre Dame? Join a damn conference.
Well, they're not going to.
Too much money with NBC.
And I understand. But that's what SEC people are saying, and that's what Big Ten people are saying. Yeah. If you want to reap the benefits, join a conference and play on conference championship weekend.
Well, that's why Notre Dame scheduled those teams outside of – they can schedule anybody they want to.
They went to Kyle Field week 1.
When Kyle Field won that football game. They played Army when they were in the top 25. They played Navy when they were in the top 25. They're able to beat teams and the way they're able to go through teams. They didn't get upset by USC in the final game of the regular season. So Notre Dame can look at it and say, we are a conference. We're NDFC, the Notre Dame Football Conference, and we make a lot of money for the NDFC, the Notre Dame Football Conference.
To your point, too, I think they're sick to their stomach that USC is probably not hindsight because they needed that game to get in, but you schedule these games in years behind. I mean, who thought USC was going to have 5 losses this year? Well, that was a fringe top 10 team college football playoff team going into the year.
Well, to use a Seinfeld reference again, preseason rankings are just like area codes and zip codes. They're meaningless as far as that goes.
Hey, I asked Florida State that question.
Right, because you're basing every preseason ranking on what happened last year and what you're thinking is going to happen this year. Plenty of those preseason rankings are not based on what they think about teams in that coming year. It's based on what they did last year. Maybe they were on the come up. Maybe they had too many injuries, whatever that is. So you have those preseason rankings in people's minds. Then I believe
that determines the rankings.
It does.
It does.
But it also exactly.
AP does not want to admit that they're wrong.
Well, they don't have to admit they're wrong. We'll tell them that they're wrong because that's what it is between the AP poll and also the preseason polls. They're based on what happened last year. So now you're taking those rankings into the college football playoff rankings each and every Tuesday because that's what they're basing it on. A lot of times they're not even looking at teams that saying, "Oh, that team was number 4 in the preseason rankings. Now they're number 9. Maybe they're not as good." We don't know exactly when of that. Maybe their starting quarterback got injured early on. The backup quarterback took a couple of games to get ready to go, and now he's ready to go. And now they're going to be a great football team again, or at least a good football team again. When you have that kind of already influence, that can be a very, very problem with the structure determining the rankings every Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a good point because these guys, they kind of play in tune with each other, and you have a higher ladder to climb when you're behind the 8 ball to start off the year.
No doubt.
Of course, Freddie Coleman joining us today. He'll be on the call tomorrow on ESPN Radio for the Boca Bowl between Western Kentucky and James Madison University. We're over here now at the City Place Studios. He's in studio with us on ESPN 106.3. Last thing before we segue really quick, I want to get your thoughts in the NBA, but really quickly, it seems like you're high on Notre Dame. Is there going to be a team in your head that is the team to beat in your head that's going to make a run here?
Yeah, put it this way. Notre Dame may be the most dangerous team in the playoff that nobody's really talking about because they got 7 guys on the defensive side that can be playing in the NFL. They're going to be playing on Sundays.
3 guys in the secondary.
Yeah, Xavier Watson's no joke. That guy's the best secondary player in the country. What he's able to do, not name Travis Hunter because that guy's the best player in the country, playing for Colorado. Riley Leonard's gotten better and better throwing the football. They got a running game. They have what I like to call the Noah's Ark offense. They got 2 of everything. They got 2 of a running back, 2 of a tight end, 2 of a wide receiver that can kick your behind and take names. So anybody that draws them, you may not want that team on the other side. You want that team on the other side of the bracket, or you can try to delay meeting them as far as you possibly can. Indiana's going to be in for a world of hurt on Friday because Notre Dame is sick and tired of Indiana talking about Kurt Signetti. I win, just Google me, or we're the new team in the Hoosier State.
You're out on Indiana.
Yeah, no, I'm not out on Indiana. I love what Kirk Signetti's been able to do because the team that he coached last year is playing in the Boca Bowl this year. He took a lot of those James Madison guys.
He took the entire roster.
Absolutely. So give Coach Chesney a lot of credit overturning that roster, and they were
from
a 9-win team
program
from an FCS program in Holy Cross. But Notre Dame, they're balanced on both sides of the football. They don't have a lot of issues that you can look at them and say, okay, we exploit that. And they're rested because they have to play a championship game. So they had enough time to mentally and physically heal to get ready for playing a game on Friday and going through the rigors of conference championship, not conference championship football, but trying to win an NCAA
Weirdly
title.
enough, I agree with you that they're going to be a tough out. Marcus Freeman's good in a big game. He's weird. He has that bad game he drops a year, but he's
already happened. Northern Illinois,
and he's strangely Marshall. He's strangely good in a big game. But so he's underrated in that.
Can I play devil's advocate? Let's not forget the same guy who put 10 guys on the field versus the Buckeyes last year. It didn't have enough players on the defense for the last play of the game that turned out to be a touchdown.
But that was then,
it's a fluke play. That stuff happens.
And remember,
come on, at the end of the game, guys. It's for the game.
He was an Ohio State grad. He wanted to make sure you go to the alumni dinner and not have people yelling and saying, how dare you beat your school? What kind of Buckeye are you? So he did kind of his own kind of point shaving a little bit.
All right, listen, I'll listen to some collusion. I'll listen to collusion. Now, let me ask you this, Freddie. Outside of Notre Dame, is there a higher seed, a Tennessee, an Ohio State, or a team that didn't get the bye that you could see winning the whole thing?
You mentioned Tennessee because that's going to be a bloodbath when they play Ohio State. Ohio State, they're still reeling from the loss against Michigan. That is always going to weigh on their minds. This Tennessee team kept getting healthier and healthier and healthier. And now you got their quarterback, DJ Iamaleava, who's not making those kind of mistakes that we saw early in the year. And Josh Heupel loves games like this. We've seen he's done in Alabama in previous years, LSU as well. He loves this kind of big game element where all the pressure's on Ohio State because even though Ryan Day is coming back, people are wondering, okay, what are you going to do after losing to Michigan like that when you had no business losing to them? So all the pressure's on Ohio State.
Two things quickly. There's going to be a ton of Tennessee fans there. 42% of the resold tickets went to Tennessee.
Oh, boy.
30% is what our president at Ohio State came out and said is going to be some orange at Ohio Stadium. And, Freddie, you mentioned that Day is coming back. Let's wait, all right? If the Buckeyes get embarrassed, I think he's coming back. But listen, if the Buckeyes get embarrassed in that game on Saturday, all I'm saying, you never know. That's a city that lives and breathes that football team.
Tennessee's got the young quarterback, but they have a great defensive line.
Really
and Michigan just showed a blueprint on how to beat them in their building, and it's slow the game down and get after Howard to make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, and also,
we'll see what happens.
And also in Howard, we've seen that he can get skittish with the football. And if you're Ryan Day and you know your quarterback can get skittish, you got 2 running backs that are going to be playing in the NFL. Why are you not giving those guys the ball more to calm down?
Well, he did that against Michigan, and then he got killed.
But
I understand the point.
He gave up on the run too early.
They need a balanced offense.
Yes.
And they don't know where to lean their cards. It's either too much of one or too much of the other.
Absolutely.
Freddie Coleman, of course, joining us on Russo Rizzo. Last thing here.